This video was produced by The Top Cut. Be sure to check out thetopcut.net, your home for Pokemon TCG, tournament coverage, professional game analysis, and interviews with the best players in the world. Thanks for watching.
Hey guys, this is Pram, and I'm bringing you the top 8 of the Wisconsin Regional Championships. On our left, we have our very own Kyle Pooka Sucevich, and on our right, we have Vince Blasko. So, as you can probably notice, Vince has gone first, and he is playing Celebi Mewtwo Tornadus. And Kyle, well, you see a Zekrom, so that's clearly Zekrom Eelektrik. This matchup is, I would say, in Zekrom Electric's favor. You know, I think it just has more of a natural advantage. You know, because part of the CMT deck is Tornadus, and that's weak to lightning, and Celebi has less than 80 HP. And most of the deck actually has less than 80 HP, so Thunderous is actually very good versus it. And we'll just see how this matchup plays out. So, we see Vince's board kind of mediocre. He did use a portrait here, but it's a good start, you know, with the Smeargle. But he did not play a supporter, I don't believe. So we will be seeing maybe a little bit of a slow turn. Let's see what Kyle can muster up. He does Pokegear and hits a big. Looks like nothing. Maybe, yeah. It's unfortunate, but Kyle does have a punt, so he's all right. What's he want to do is get like a couple Dynamos here, Dynamos out if he can, and just try to minimize the amount of damage Portrait can do to him. When I say damage, I mean like you want to prevent as much. You want to prevent Vince from setting up as much as he can with Portrait. So if you can avoid it, you want to like not use your. You want to get like maybe trap him with N, or just use your junk arms in interesting ways. So Vince here still, yeah, no DC still, and no Sky Arrow. But Kyle's hand on the other, still pretty grim. He has no Dynamos, and his board is pretty bare. So Vince could maybe capitalize on this. We'll see. And let's just see what Vince draws off this 6 with the Smeargle. Alright, so things he could do, let's see. You know, he could use, if he could get a Sky Arrow, he might be able to use Hurricane, but that opens up the road for Outrage, and Kyle does have a Pont, so he will be able to get more cards. And if he had hit a basic at any point, Vince would be in trouble. Zekrom is actually really tough to deal with for Vince. You know, he does play a Virizion, which is the Sacred Sword one. So after Kyle uses the Bolt Strike, he'll be able to deal with it. But until then, that Zekrom is actually almost untouchable by Vince. So let's see what Pont gets Kyle. Looks like a lot of nothing. He gets a Dynamo and an Ultra Ball, or a Level Ball, and a Mewtwo, a Lightning, 2 Lightnings, and a Super Rod. That 6 is pretty abysmal, but it just happens to be. It's actually just pretty abysmal. On a plus side, though, he does stop Vince from using Portrait. And Vince is actually yet to play a supporter this game, so yeah, maybe he can hold up and prevent Vince from actually drawing anything. We'll see. So we do see a Level Ball. Probably going to get Dynamo here. And then, yeah, you just drop them both down. And maybe you can draw out of your situation next turn. And just outrage for 20 here. You know, but you do have that Bolt Strike option next turn, so you are in good shape still. Okay, so we see a third energy coming down for Tornadus. And let's see. Ooh, a Sky Arrow even. So That 40 HP used to have a setback of it having a retreat cost, but now it has no retreat cost, so not bad. Let's see how Vince responds to the situation. He could use... Okay, so he's going to use Portrait, see that Kyle actually just has nothing. And Vince had to like double check. He's like, wait, really? Nothing? So now Vince is like, this is... Oh, man. Okay, so Vince is actually just attacking into the Dynamo here. And saying, okay, you're going to Bolt Strike me. And let's see if I can muster up something after that. So, our boy Kyle here is well equipped enough to actually just draw a Juniper off the top of his deck. So he's going to be in really great shape, and Vince probably will not be very pleased to see that Juniper off the top for Kyle. And notice how Kyle does not play Mewtwo EX. He knows that the only real way that CMT can win this matchup is to go into a Mewtwo war, and that's something Kyle wants to avoid pretty much at all costs. So we will see a Dynamotor even, and he's going to be able to Bolt Strike this Tornadus here. So Kyle's is actually in really good shape now. Maybe he did draw a Buffalon, so maybe he will want to drop that. It's not bad to drop it, so it's fine. And he will just Bolt Strike. So now here's Vince going, that was unfortunate. Kind of groaned when he saw that Juniper, maybe a little bit. But what can he do here? Well, okay, so he plays N. He wants to bring Kyle's hand back down to size. And, N's good for a late game for Kyle. But early game, maybe you can use it to avoid getting knocked out of the game by Kyle's hand just accumulating good cards. So it's really on the CMT player to put on a ton of pressure before Eels can actually do what they want to do. And we do see a Pont and an N for Kyle. So he's going to be somewhat set up. And a Dual Ball comes down. Maybe he gets a Tornadus again. We'll see. There's a couple ways to knock out this Zekrom. So, okay, so he does go for the Tornadus. Oh, a nice thing about the Sacred Sword version that Vince does run, it does not get one-shotted by Thunderous. So maybe that's why he's playing it. Not really sure, but yeah. Okay, so let's see here. Alright, so he does use Celebration Wind to move that Grass Energy over to Tornadus, and sees a pretty beefy hand out of Kyle. You might want to end that away, because that DCE Mewtwo is kind of strong, but you kind of want the cards, so I could see getting 6 cards here, but he opts for N, and he's just trying to keep his opponent off that DCEs, off those Mewtwo's, and yeah, don't really blame him. Kyle already does have one Mewtwo in his discard, so chances are that's his last Mewtwo left. And let's see if Vince has what it takes to actually take a prize this turn. He will need either a DCE or some kind of switch double grass combination. But it looks like he's just going to pass, so that's huge for Kyle. And he draws an Eviolite, so his Zekrom is going to be very beefy. It now takes now you have to do 110 damage to knock it out, and that's only achievable by a Mewtwo at this point in the game. And that's something Vince definitely doesn't want to go down that route. Not yet. He wants to maybe take a couple cheap prizes, but the problem is Kyle hasn't benched anything that's low HP. It's all big basic Pokemon, and that Eelektrik, they're all 90 plus. And Vince Tornadus maxes out at 80 damage without plus power, but there is one coming down, so maybe Vince can muster up something to take out that Eelektrik. So yeah, well, okay, so we have a Juniper here, getting rid of a bunch of cards. Would have liked to see him throw down that Eviolite, maybe on the Shaman, simply because that way they can't just like randomly catcher it up and do 80 to it. So let's see here. What does Vince plan to do here? He needs energies. That's really just what he needs. He needs DCE. He needs grass energies, something to get him back into this game, because Kyle is just running away with it. We do see a grass in Vince's hand. Does he have the second grass though? He does catcher, so he's bringing up the Eelektrik. The Eelektrik. I keep calling it Eelektrik. I don't know why. I just think it sounds cooler. Maybe we can just. I get the name. It's like electric, like electricity, but it's an eel, so I just I just associate the word eel with it first, instead of actually saying electric. So we did not see any knockout from Vince, and we see a knockout from Kyle. So, this game actually just might be over. Kyle's board is really just super set up. He's up 2 prizes. This is like the worst case scenario for Vince. There's not much he can do. Even if he starts taking prizes now, Kyle is just going to be ready and waiting for like random knockouts, like that Buffalont, the Thundurus, a Mewtwo hiding in his hand, and Vince drops down the Mewtwo just going, hey, I don't really have many options left. I'm going to go for Mewtwo, and let's just see how this plays out. And I'm sure Kyle is happy to oblige him with this option. So Vince is just going to get a knockout with the Tornadus. Maybe put an energy onto put it onto the Tornadus. Make Kyle have 5 energy, which is actually not possible unless Kyle runs Shaman. Now, if Kyle does have like the Shaman Mewtwo combo, then that's pretty much game anyways. But if maybe he doesn't play it, so we'll see. Kyle does send up the Thundurus, and remember, it does have free retreat because of Sky Arrow, so it's actually a pretty safe Pokemon to send up to your active spot. And now he's just going to grab another Dynamo with that level ball. Let's see. Hopefully for Kyle, he has another Lightning Energy. Would like to start seeing him attacking with the Thundurus, and just getting some lightning in the discard so he can start using Dynamotor more often. But actually, I think his hands is devoid of any energy, so he might just have to go Outrage here, which is fine. Outrage for 160, it works too. Alright, so yeah, this getting the Dynamo out of the deck, he actually probably won't play it, but he's just saying, hey, I'm getting the level ball out of my deck, so when you do play N, I'll be fine. Looks like he's kind of considering the Dynamo, though. He might play it down. I feel like it's kind of unnecessary at this point. You don't really need it, but it would be nice to have. It really just depends on how many catchers he has left. So this is what Kyle's looking for. He's checking the junk arm count, checking the catcher count, and if he's used up enough of them, he'll feel safe playing down the Dynamo. And yeah, I guess he has. So he's used up enough junk arms and catchers where Kyle feels relatively safe playing that down. So we will see a Tornadus come up, and that Zekrom has been just mowing through Vince's field. There's not much. I think it's actually taken all 4 prizes that Kyle's has drawn so far. So Energy retrieval. That's actually a really nice tech. Okay, so Kyle, or rather, Vince does catcher up, so he did have the catcher, and Kyle might maybe kind of regretting playing that Dynamo down, giving up a free prize. Vince really wouldn't have been able to take a prize if it wasn't for that Dynamo. So, Kyle just kind of going, that sucks. But we do see Vince use a Pont here and not a N. So Kyle can have Kyle does have a lot of options here. He can start sending things up, or he can start just knocking things out. Because he only needs to take 2 prizes before Vince takes 3, and he's going to take another prize this turn. So he's in pretty decent shape here, as long as he doesn't drop Mewtwo down. Yeah, so he's just going to give the Lightning there, and even give it an Eviolite, just saying, yeah, my cards are great. And we do see a Dual Ball, and Kyle, 2 heads, Sucevich. We'll get 2 more Pokemon. I'm not sure. Just get a Mewtwo and just whatever at that point. It's just Mewtwo and something else. It's just a threat. Yeah. So now he's saying, you better have N, because I have Mewtwo when you respond with your Mewtwo. And that'll be the end of this little battle. So Kyle in dominating position, but Vince could still come back with a N. N here is, I would say N's probably the best supporter in the format right now. Better than Juniper, better than Pont, better than any other supporter in the game right now. N is definitely number 1. Number 2, it's a close call. Some people like Pont, some people like Juniper. And we do see a plus power out of Kyle, and now he's actually just playing that just to play around N. He's like, I don't really need this card, and I don't want to redraw it if I get N down to 1. So have to get it out of my deck somehow. So I'm just gonna play it now for the extra 20 damage that it'll bring me. And now it all comes down to this: does Vince have N? If he does have N, there may be a way for Vince to come back into this game. If he does not have N, then the game is over. And Vince doesn't have N. So, the game is over. Kyle wins game 1 in a pretty sweeping fashion. And we will be off to game 2.